This video was chosen for production by my subscribers on Patreon. If you'd like to help pick the next one, the link is in the description. Hello everyone. In the Railway series, most of the human characters have very small roles, mostly as amiable railway staff, but occasionally grumpy passengers or mad barbers. That is, apart from this one. The most important human character in these stories is of course the Fat Controller. It was not until the release of the Island of Sodor book that it was widely known that this character is actually not a single character, but is instead three different men. The role of controller has been passed democratically from father to son over 3 generations. In this video, we'll take a look at each of the members of the Hatt family and see how they shaped the railways of Sodor to ensure it remained independent and profitable under their good management. The first man to hold the title of Fat Controller, and indeed for a time Fat Director, was Topham Hatt. He was born in 1880 and at age 14 was apprenticed at Swindon Works, where he became friends with William Stanier. The young Mr. Hatt is rumoured to have saved Stanier from embarrassment and scandal on perhaps more than one occasion. After 7 years at Swindon, Topham Hatt left Sodor in 1901, joining A.W. Dry and Company at Tidmouth. This company originated in East Anglia, but had a presence in Sodor since the 1880s. A.W. Dry recommended Hatt to the Tidmouth, Knapford and Elsbridge Light Railway in 1905, and he designed 4 coffee pot engines for them between 1908 and 1914 at Tidmouth. When a gale in the autumn of 1908 destroyed the coastal road and tramway connecting Tidmouth with Knapford, Hatt was appointed to direct the construction of a tunnel south of Tidmouth and build a railway line through it to connect the towns. He held the post of engineer on the Tidmouth, Knapford and Elsbridge Light Railway, as well as the successive companies the Tidmouth, Wellsworth and Sudbury Railway in 1912 and then the North Western in 1914. Outside of his working life, Topham Hatt was married to a local girl, Jane Brown, sister of Handel Brown, in 1910. They had 2 children, Barbara Jane Hatt in 1911 and Charles Topham Hatt in 1914. Charles would be educated at the Abbey School in Cronk, and follow in his father's footsteps working the railways on the island. In 1915, Hatt designed the bridge over the Walney Channel to connect Sodor with the mainland. He rose up through the ranks at the North Western, being made general manager in 1923. In this time his ingenuity and resource set up the railway for its later prosperity. Engines were borrowed to build and run the line, and engines like Thomas, Edward and Gordon were bought for nominal sums or good deals. There was one misstep though, which was the purchase of Henry. Topham Hatt was after a Robinson Atlantic, and instead was given an engine, poorly built from inaccurate plans, and he would never reveal which bastard pulled the fast one on him. Between 1923 and 1925, the North Western Board was chaired by Arthur Eggerby, Viscount Harwick, along with his general manager, Mr. Topham Hatt, and they fought off closure or amalgamation with the LMS. Hard bargaining with the quarry owner, Jabez Crowry, in 1924 meant the Farquhar branch was extended across the River Ells to the quarry at Anofa Fell, with half the tunnel being paid for by the quarry, as well as all the stone being supplied for free for the new bridge at Elsbridge. Hatt suggested this be based off Brunel's Bridge at Maidenhead. In 1923 he was present when Henry refused to leave the tunnel, and gave the order to break the engine inside. Later on, he was on Gordon's Express that broke down near the same tunnel, and he allowed the engine to come out again. The following years he witnessed Thomas be swept along with Gordon's Express, Thomas leave his train behind, and Thomas lose control of some trucks on Gordon's Hill. However, after seeing Thomas's heroics after James's crash, he grants Thomas his own branch line. In 1925, Topham Hatt became a controller rather than a director, and so from now on, he is known by the name that will be carried by his son and grandson in due course, the Fat Controller. He purchases James in this year and gets soaked by him early on, and then threatens him with blue paint if he does not behave. When James bumps his coaches and damages them, the Fat Controller sends him to the shed. When at last he is allowed out again, he can only pull trucks, but the Fat Controller is pleased with his resilience against the silly trucks, and in the end allows James to pull the express. This year he also ate chips with fish caught in Thomas's tank. The following year, Topham Hatt saw to it that James could take the circus train, and when the big engines went on strike, arranged for Thomas and Edward to run the main line, and purchased a shunter called Percy to help arrange trains. In 1934, Topham Hatt sympathised with Henry's poor running and gets some special high-quality Welsh coal. This leads to better performance from Henry, and he starts to take the Flying Kipper train. A crash on this service the following year leads Henry to getting a rebuild at Crewe, and Hatt's long-standing friendship with William Stanier leads this rebuilding to Henry now resembling a Black 5. Topham Hatt was also deafened by Gordon's faulty whistle and had his outfit ruined by Percy at this time. In 1936, Topham Hatt was made managing director of the North Western Railway, and in 1939 redesigned Gordon's cylinders. As the next few years seemed to be quiet ones for the railway, this is a good time to check in on Topham's son Charles. In 1937, William Stanier recommended the 23-year-old Charles for railway service abroad. Charles had been working with Stanier at Crewe since he was 18, and would have been there at the same time as Henry was getting his rebuild. Charles returned from this work abroad in 1939 and signed up for the Royal Engineers, serving throughout World War II. He was demobbed in 1945 as a colonel and returned to his overseas work. During the war, he married Amanda Crowry, daughter of Jabez, in 1940, and they had 2 children, Stephen in 1941, who would one day become the third Sir Topham Hatt, and Bridget in 1943. Topham's other child, Barbara, married the son of his boss, Colonel Henry Regaby, in 1938. In 1943, the Audrey brothers met Topham Hatt. Upon nationalisation in 1948, when the North Western Railway became the North Western Region, Topham Hatt was created a baronet and appointed chairman of the regional executive. This is the time when he became Sir Topham Hatt. In 1951, the Hatt family went on holiday to East Anglia. The Fat Controller was there with his wife and the grandchildren Bridget and Stephen. There was also a lady there who may well be Amanda, with Charles working abroad at the time. Hatt met Toby and later brought him after a new policeman informed him that Thomas could no longer work the tramway to the quarry. Later that year, he facilitated a thank you party for Mrs. Kindly and sent her to Bournemouth to recuperate. In 1952, Charles Hatt returned to Sodor and took up the role of Chief Mechanical Engineer at Crovensgate Works and General Assistant to his father. This year, the elder Hatt saw Gordon fall in a ditch and put him in disgrace, before recalling him to help Thomas out of a mine. He also sent Edward off for repair after his chase with Edward, and was introduced to Elizabeth II by his son-in-law, and she visited the island the following year. In 1954, Sir Topham Hatt retired, and his son was the unanimous choice to succeed him. The following year, he brought Duck from the mainland to take over pilot duties at Tidmouth, as Percy was required to begin the Knapford Harbour Improvement Scheme, a plan of his father's. Unfortunately, Topham never got a chance to see this completed, dying at Wellsworth in 1956. When he died, the baronetcy passed to his son, becoming Sir Charles Topham Hatt. This year, he also scolds Percy for falling in the sea, allows Gordon to go to London, and gets the idea to allow his famous engines to travel to the mainland to show everyone how real they really are. In 1957, the Fat Controller took a diesel on trial for the first time, and they were not a success. In 1959, he ordered a new engine from Scotland, but 2 came. After a tough start to life on the island, involving a destroyed brake van and a damaged signal box, the Fat Controller bought Donald and Douglas due to their good work in the snow. The Fat Controller's view on diesels hadn't been completely dimmed, as in 1960 he arranged a diesel rail car to work on Thomas's branch line. This was lucky, as Thomas and Percy both had accidents that year which would require repair work during her early days on the line. In 1962, Stepney the Bluebell engine visited alongside his controller, who dressed in a very similar style to the Fat Controller. He was also present at the 100th birthday party of Skarloey and Renias in 1965. Also in 1965, Boko arrived at Brendan with a goods train. The Fat Controller was interested in keeping Boko on trial, having seen the troubled class working on the mainland, and British Railways agreed. This was a successful trial, and the Fat Controller bought Boko, fixing the problems that haunted the rest of the Class 28s. As early as 1964, the Fat Controller began to get concerned with the congestion at Tidmouth and Knapford harbours, and began to explore alternative sites. He settled on Islesborough and restored the branch line from Tidmouth. Along with the controllers of the Skarloey and Caldyfell railways, he joined a consortium to exploit the spoils left over from the Mid-Sodor Railway and construct the Isledale Railway on the former MSR trackbed. This company established a ballast processing and distribution centre at Kildane. In 1967, he promoted Duck to run this branch line due to his good work at Tidmouth, and also arranged a visit by Flying Scotsman, and welcomed Oliver, Toad and Isabel to the Islesborough branch line. He was already planning on auto services and had previously purchased Dulcie, Alice and Mirabelle. The following year he had 2 run-ins with Oliver, one to tell him off for allowing himself to be pushed into the turntable well, and then to visit after a frail truck called Scruffy got destroyed. He took 2 diesels on loan and kept a Class 35, now called Bear. In 1969, the Fat Controller joined with the Earl of Sodor and Sir Handel Brown to pay to restore Duke. We now come to another period of relative calm on the railways, so this is a good time to check in with Charles Hatt's son Stephen. In 1970 he married Helen Margaret, with whom he has 3 children. The eldest is Richard Topham Hatt, destined to become the 4th Sir Topham Hatt, born in 1972, with Charles Nicholas and Emily Helen following in 1974 and 1977 respectively. In the early 1970s, the Fat Controller found Bloomer in a shed in Scotland. He was rescued and by 1935 was part of his collection of preserved engines. In 1977, the Jubilee Bridge was built connecting the roads on Sodor to the mainland. This put an end to the North Western ferry service, and Charles showed to have the same talent for bargaining as his father, making sure the North Western were well compensated for the loss of the ferry. In 1978 he congratulated Thomas on the recovery of some stolen trophies, and consoled Duck after his crash into the Flying Kipper. The following year he saw off Thomas, Percy and Duck when they pulled the express. By this time the Fat Controller had equipped Crovan's Gate Works to deal with any locomotive repair, regardless of gauge. In 1984, Charles retired and his son Stephen was elected to replace him. In his first year he had to deal with old Stuck-Up crashing through the shed wall and James destroying a signal. The following year he sent Duck to work on Thomas's branch line while Thomas was ill. During a snowy spell, he sent Donald and Douglas to look for Thomas, who went missing collecting the Christmas tree. In 1986, the Fat Controller gets covered in ash when Gordon passes, and then is present when Gordon is rescued by Boko, and forgives Gordon at their next meeting. The following year he paid several visits to the Farquhar branch, as well as seeing Trevor. During a locomotive shortage on the Farquhar branch, he borrows diesel from the other railway. He was initially hesitant, and after pushing some trucks through a fence, he ordered Diesel to leave. Diesel atoned for his error and is now welcome back. In 1990 the Fat Controller helped with the building of Jock for the small railway, a project which was close to his father's heart. He was also present for Thomas's departure to the Great Railway Show and travelled to York when Thomas received his plaque. He then addressed the crowd on Thomas's return. When football teams at Ellsbridge warned Thomas about a fallen tree, he held a party to thank them. In 1992 he sent Henry for overhaul and found his red undercoat on Henry's early return humorous. In 1993 he borrowed Wilbert from the Dean Forest Railway and was impressed by his performance and wants to get an engine like him to help out on the railway. In 1995 he arranged a royal visit to celebrate the golden anniversary of the railway series. In 1997 Charles Topham Hatt died, 13 years after retiring. The baronetcy then passed to Stephen, making him Sir Stephen Topham Hatt. He was present for Victoria's transfer to the Farquhar branch and celebrated her along with Henrietta as Toby's vintage train. By 2005 he hoped to tap into the lucrative market making spare parts for heritage lines, and also decided he wanted to purchase Pip and Emma to give Citroëns a faster through trip to London. He achieved this by 2011, and also celebrates Thomas and his crew saving a swan, Gordon's bravery in the face of fire, and the Thin Clergyman's centenary. The Hatt regime looks set to continue to the 4th generation, with Richard Topham Hatt being the likely successor to Stephen. However, as of 2021, this has not happened. One footnote to the Fat Controller's story is his portrayal on screen. Now, we know that the TV series is canon in the Railway series, and the engines have seen episodes of the show. The show portrays the Fat Controller as one single man rather than 3 different ones. He seems to be based most of all on the first Fat Controller, having Bridget and Stephen as grandchildren, but he is also called Bertram Topham Hatt at times rather than just Topham. He is shown to have an elderly mother, Dowager Hatt, and a twin brother called Loam, which would not affect the canon of the Railway series at all. But he is also shown to have a grandfather who was the first controller of the North Western Railway, which is obviously very different to the established details. Thanks for watching everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video and let me know down below if there are any other histories you'd like to see. Like with the History of Sodor video I made, I really enjoy putting the material we have into chronological order. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching everyone. If you enjoyed this video, Please consider subscribing to the Patreon like these fine folk to help pick the next video subject, get early access to new content and help support the channel.